What? More new goth bands? Are you serious? Welcome to By Candlelight, beaming goth, darkwave and post-punk straight into your brain, like a ray of light in a non-Madonna way. Viewers of my channel will know that I've already posted parts 1 and 2 of the new goth band series, hence why this is called part 3. Feel free to visit those parts if you haven't already, but not yet, because you're all mine for this video. Mine, I tell you. Lock the doors. I've got 10 new goth bands to talk about. As before, some may be rooted in the core of goth, while others may lurk on the periphery. And when I say new bands, some of them might have been around for a little while, but might have just scampered under your radar, like a badger. The badger of death. As ever, links will be left in the comments for you to check out more and hopefully buy their music. I will go through each band and I will talk about, obviously in my opinion, the album that I would check out first. And one of these bands is fronted by a famous actress. Shall we get on? Firstly, we have Actors. Formed in Vancouver in 2012, these guys throw their synths onto a pile of post-punk. At this point in time, they have 2 albums available. 2018's It Will Come To You and 2021's Acts of Worship. Sounding like a synth pop pie, but with a post-punk pastry outer, there's not a lot to separate these 2 albums quality-wise. If I really had to choose, then maybe their debut. It probably edges it for me just because it buries the vocals a little bit further in the mix. But yeah, definitely looking forward to more releases from them. Next up is the Timeless Valley from Germany. Anyone with a sister's hole in their life will be able to plug it with this. The only release that remotely resembles an album is 2023's Live Die Live. Probably more of an EP, as there are just 8 tracks. The production values are quite low, but all the better for it in this case, I think. My only criticism is that the track volumes aren't consistent across the album. You notice it when you go from tracks like Happy Suicide to Apart. It happens again on Nightcrawler and Cold Things. But these are tiny points because it's brilliant to hear a recording that's as raw and exciting as this. The next band is Death Loves Veronica. I mentioned these guys in my Halloween special. I say these guys, but it's actually the solo project of Texan Veronica Stitch. It's dark, it's electronic, and it's dark some more. Wading through a few albums and EPs, I've got to say that it's 2022's Corruption for the Insidious that is my favourite. According to her Bandcamp page, it was inspired by the evil atrocities in the world as seen through the eyes of Veronica. Yeah, you wouldn't play this to your gran. If you like bands like Ego Likeness, please do check this one out. Moving on to the Harrow. This New York-based band state that they are dream pop, and I can definitely hear a very early Cocteau Twins-esque influence on their only studio album to date, Silhouettes. They did release an EP at the end of last year, but I'm excited to see where they're going to go with their next album. Next, we have Crew Lies, that describe themselves as Californian, gazed out romantic, post-punk, party goth. You gotta love that. This is melodic, bittersweet and emotional stuff. And that voice actually sounds like if Dave Garn and Dave Vanian had a kid. I recommend their second album, Goodbye Divine. The songwriting and production is top level. What a great album. Next up, it's Scary Black. These guys come from Kentucky, and as far as I can see, they haven't yet got an album out. There's a B-sides compilation and a live album, but my recommendation is this compilation of an EP and some singles called Are You Afraid of the Dark? Released in 2019, this is a lot more trad goth than the other bands I've mentioned so far. So you get a meaty drum machine, prominent bass lines, baritone voice, and all drenched in reverb. What else do we need? The quality control is high here, so this is a non-skip album for me. Next, Toronto-based band Mary bring their angular darkness to our fair shores. Not literally, it need not arrive by maritime means. At the current time, they have a bunch of EPs and one album proper. That album, Die Before Death, was released in 2020. Describing this album, they say it seeks to detail the evolution of finding the true self, all filtered through a dusted and dark lens that allows fragments of light to shine. Sometimes it's Curie, sometimes it's Interpoly, but it doesn't sound solidly like those two bands exclusively. Another very strong album. Moving on, Adoration Destroyed are another Texan band. With a few EPs under their belt, their only album so far is 2016's industrial infused Ritual Damage. If you like artists such as Marilyn Manson, you will do well here. In fact, there's even a cover of Coma White on this album, so fans of Manson will love this. This album has sharp production that just cuts right through. But while Manson injects guitars, these guys keep it purely electronic. Hopefully we will hear more from them in the future. Penultimately, we have the Jaggers, and I hope I've pronounced that right. This one was a recommendation from viewer Black Death KLG. Thank you for recommending this. The Jaggers are fronted by actress Vera Farmiga, who has starred in films such as The Boy in the Striped Pyjamas and the Conjuring series of films. For starters, although I could only find one track called The Crying Room, I really like this. This is one of those mid-tempo tracks that just makes your head nod. A nice long intro too. The vocals are witchy, mysterious and dynamic. Honestly, I can't speak for an album that doesn't exist, but if this was featured on an album and this was the only track I'd heard, I'd just buy it there and then, straight away, no messing. An absolutely phenomenal track. It builds to a climax and then it just eases its way back down again. Please release an album. Apparently there is one on the way in 2025. Lastly, is it that time already? I have Kill Shelter. Kill Shelter is the solo project of UK DJ and producer Pete Burns. This guy is all about the collaboration, so delve into any of his releases and you'll see names like Clan of Zymox, VV and the Void and Under the Skin. I particularly like the album Damage, which, although it was released in 2019, was actually re-released last year, and I think it was remastered. Additional guests on this one include Delphine Coma, I Am the Shadow and New Haunt. Production is way up there, and because of all the guests, it does sound like a compilation of Darkwave and electronica in a good way. So that is my latest batch of new bands. If you have any newish bands to recommend, please do leave them in the comments. And if they're included in an episode, I will give you a shout out. That's lovely, isn't it? Let's get the word out about these new artists. As I mentioned, links to all these artists will be in the usual place. Oh, and don't forget to send me some cool photos of your goth homes. All the details down below. Until next time, see you later.